Hi everyone, this is Blocktales and I'm Katharina from Lena Vision, a blockchain marketing agency. And today I'm very happy to have with us our first technologist in this podcast. It's Lena Hierzi from H.E.R. So Lena, welcome to our podcast. Maybe you can shortly introduce yourself.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today, Katharina. I'm very excited. Hi everyone, I'm Lena. I am a front-end developer and also a H.E.R governor since a year. I'm responsible for hackathons and scholarships, and very soon to be a developer advocate. Starting in March. I will tell you more about that, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to this session today.
Yes, me too. So let's start with our always first question, which is how would you explain your Web3 everyday life to your grandma?
I think very quickly it's very different from a 9 to 5 job because I work in like a global organization. So most of my calls happening in the evening. I have weeks where I only have calls. I have weeks where I go to conferences, and these weeks are so stressful because we have a lot of events. We have scholars that we need to introduce into Web3. I will give a short introduction later to that, but like it's just very intense with networking and learning. But yeah, and also I think it's definitely a different approach in general to work and to learning, because I will always learn on the side because there's so much new things that part of my job is learning, and that there's a lot of like evening classes that I have. So it's more, in general, more flexible, but also more time intense. That's what I would say. But very
Speaking of
exciting because I get to
networking,
work with. Yeah, please.
Speaking of networking, that's also how we met, right? We met at a meetup
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Berlin.
Yeah.
So for all these out there, if you want to meet interesting people, go out there and network.
Exactly. I think networking is for me one of the most, like, for my whole career path, it has been the most important part of everything. Like how I got into my first boot camp for like, just like, maybe you're gonna ask me that later, but it helped me. It helped me to find exciting educational content. It's helped me to find people I can connect with and actually find the job that I realized was the perfect job for me. And I think, that's how I came to H.E.R. That's how I entered the whole space and how I got successful. And I think events is really the way to go.
So you said that's how you found the right job for you. So what's it in Web3 that actually like made you enter the space? How did you decide? Because I know that you're a programmer, right? You studied computer
Yeah,
science. How did you get from there, which is probably
exactly.
taught at universities pretty traditional,
Yeah.
to Web3?
Um, I think you're very right. So I also didn't study like this like traditional computer science, but computer science combined with social science because I have a bachelor in languages as well. Um, so when I had this very interesting course, and there we could go very free, and I wanted to create a decentralized social network. That was the first time I got into contact with decentralization, because I was like, okay, I don't like how Facebook and like all of these big companies own all your data and have so much control, also like over the guidelines. So how cool would it be if we could, like as a community, design something that feels safe, where we are in charge of community guidelines and like what kind of content we allow and don't allow, and like how do we also cater to like more marginalized groups that they, and like underrepresented groups, that they will feel safe. And starting from there, I actually like in my coding bootcamp, one woman that was in this coding bootcamp, she started working for a company that was working with decentralized technology, and then she sent this course, DLT Talents, which is organized by the Frankfurt School of Finance, and I signed up. And that's how I got, and then my whole journey from like one bootcamp into the next, and started like that. So it's really cool. And I think what
Amazing.
caught me also most in the beginning was definitely the governance aspect, like the decentralization, the redistribution of power and money that is possible through blockchain technology. I think that was most engaging to me. And of course, I find the technology very exciting. Like, just the more I learn about it, the more I love what it makes possible to build. So it's really cool.
That's great thoughts. Like, it is, and you never stop learning, right? There's always something new and always
Yeah.
something more you can learn in this space. But maybe can you give us a broad overview? Like, you came from the decentralization perspective, which I totally understand because this is one of the most important parts of blockchain technology to me. But what exactly did get you to start a DAO? Like, for the listeners, it's a decentralized autonomous organization. And what exactly do we have to imagine by this? So what is a DAO, and how do you start this, and how is it even in a governmental
Yeah.
legal perspective? How does this work?
Yeah. Okay, so DAOs, decentralized autonomous organization, they are a new form, or like, yeah, a different form of organizing yourself. Like, of course, it's an organization where you have to have some kind of structure, where you have like normal areas like marketing and developers and like all of these. It exists. It's just different in like hierarchy. You don't have like a CEO, you have and a CFO, but you rather have like all the funds. Like, your CFO cannot just take out funds and decide where to put it, right? And like I think funds, it's really important to understand the money gives you power. Who has control over the money has the power. So if you, like in a DAO, you would have a multi-sig wallet, which is like a wallet where several people have to sign a transaction before it's approved to send out, which then distributes already the power. In a DAO, you would connect this to different proposals. For example, you want to spend that much money on a marketing event. I, as like head of marketing or like team lead, like I'm not head, I'm the lead, or maybe somebody, I would write a proposal together with my team, with my whole marketing team. We would upload it, and then we would say, this is our budget. It will be discussed, and then everybody who holds vote in this DAO, that they, like, you can earn votes either through, like, DAOs is a very broad term. You can have investment DAOs, can have impact DAOs, you can have product DAOs. Like, it's very broad, right? So this is only an example of how it can work, but like, this proposal will be uploaded. Everybody who has votes, either through contribution or through a certain amount put into the treasury, they will have voting rights and can then vote on these issues and can be like, okay, we think that's a great marketing event, so we allow this. And then if that many people allowed it, like, the transaction can go through, for example, or the proposal will be accepted. And this is just an example. So how did I get there? I think I studied, like, I wrote my thesis about coded, like, regulation to coded to algorithmic decision-making systems, so kind of like AI, and how to prevent discrimination through coded bias. And one thing that I really learned when I was in all of these coding and in all of these boot camps, like DLT Talents, we did like a tech study group where we started building a project. Then I participated in Consensus Developer Bootcamp, where I was leading a study group and also preparing people already like beforehand. And I really realized women are missing a mentorship network, like female developers. Like they learn coding somewhere, but when they didn't go work in a company, they really are lacking the basic knowledge of just how to use the tools, what kind of standards to follow, and just stuff that you only learn once you start working and you won't learn in university. And I think I realized more and more, okay, this is really missing. And then in my study group for Consensus Developer Bootcamp, there was actually Tracy, the initiator of H.E.R DAO, and she reached out to many different people, and there were like some governors. I was only in the second quarter a governor. But I just like immediately loved the idea of creating a female and non-binary focused developer DAO, because I I saw really what I could bring as a value to this. And then when I was in Denver, I really saw, okay, we need to tell people how important hackathons are, how what it can bring to them, and that's how it started. Like I started taking over my role in the DAO, because DAOs are also, of course, like some have like entrance barriers, like if you're having to pay something, you're having to be accepted. And in our case, it's really like how much you contribute, how much you're willing to contribute, and what kind of contribution you bring to the table. And I just really wanted to like, I had this idea, and H.E.R gave me the room to explore this idea of mentoring people for hackathons, because that's in my opinion the best way to onboard people very quickly, empower them, and give them a lot of knowledge and contacts. So yeah.
This sounds like a very straightforward approach that you took there. Like, I want to do this, give me the opportunity, I'm gonna do this. That's amazing. But speaking of devil's advocate here, I mean, the same problem occurs with Bitcoin. People want to know who's responsible, right? And it's a decentralized system.
Yeah.
So what you described right now was a DAO, which is a decentralized system. So who's responsible? If anyone asks, like, okay, there's a DAO, what's the legal form? Who's responsible for what you do? It can't be
Yeah.
everyone. We can't sue everyone if anything goes wrong, right?
Yeah. I think DAOs is, and that's also something important to understand, DAOs are still being explored, like how to build a DAO, how, like in Germany, you cannot really legally found a DAO. Switzerland already has options for that, other countries. Most big organizations actually like to handle also their funds and have like a legal entity. They create a foundation. That's an option to like handle also fiat money, and also because it is very complicated, because most of the time you're a global organization with global people from everywhere. Which legislation, like which jurisdiction do you count in for like creating this whole legal entity, right? And
Yes.
and then, for example, in Germany, if for a multi-sig wallet, if you are part of a transaction, I think Diana Eder from WomenDAO, she's doing amazing job with like working together also with German institution of the fund finances and stuff, to like really help them understand what is needed for also us to create a DAO in Germany, and to be an official part of a DAO. So I think in many cases, DAOs, there's already a lot of DAOs that are legal DAOs that will help give this like kind of advice to people that want to found a DAO. So I can also put a link for something like this. It's Vakeo or Vaseo. They will help you to found that, because it's very complicated to understand what are we looking for, and also to create this legal entity, you have to understand what are your goals to know where you can found your DAO actually, because you can found it in like a shady place, or not shady place, but like in a place
Bahamas.
like it really depends also on how big you want to grow, where you want to go, and how yeah, what's the location you choose in the end. So
Do you
there's a
think
lot to consider.
do you think
And
as being a pioneer for this in Germany, basically, do you think Germany is kind of missing out currently?
yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely what's happening right now. I have a friend who's working with who worked in politics. She really wants to bring blockchain education directly to politicians because, as you could see in the last year, this like blockchain hearing, like everything, Crypto God stuff had this like amazing transcript of what has been said, and we can see
Yes,
not many people really understand what blockchain technology really stands for. That it just is a way of decentralizing technology. It doesn't have to disrupt the whole
unfortunately.
system. You can, and I think it's still very focused on crypto. This is also one of the reasons why I love to talk about governance, why I love to talk about impact DAOs, and decentralization in general, because I think these are very, very important topics that people don't understand will be made possible through blockchain technology. So
I agree. I
um,
think education is key in this point, not only for DAOs, but for everything related to blockchain
yeah,
technology, because people are still afraid and we need to overcome this, and we will only eventually if we educate them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
going on this path, you said now a couple of times that you're a governor, which sounds pretty official, actually. Um, what
um,
exactly is a governor?
I think
And how does it
governors
come?
are people. Yeah. I think again, as DAO structures are different, you would have governors are just representatives of a DAO. They have like finite terminated period time of like that they are in this position, and then they can be voted by the whole community. Um, and I think like you can like in most DAOs, like you can also maybe it's called core team or I don't actually know where the word governor comes from, and I don't think all the DAOs use that description. um, but you yeah, I mean the normal way to like reach a higher position in a DAO is like either be one of the founding members, and but I think at one point founding members should take a step back. This is why it's very important to like when you join a DAO, or also you create a DAO to write a smart paper. And also coming back to your question, like I think it's very important to understand how important governance is, and also a DAO, as I already said, has a multi-sig wallet, but also the DAO governance is written into a smart contract. So this is automated. This is what automation means. So when you join a DAO, you should actually see if they have a white paper, see if they on what chain they work, and how their voting mechanism is, to understand, because and it takes time to build this. Like you cannot like you could. There's also different approaches to creating a DAO. I think some people like go like 3 people in their small room, create everything, and then it can be updated by the community, and they will have a good structure for people coming into suggesting something. But there's also something that you just that, for example, with if you have a product and you say like, okay, it's faster to just build this product in like a certain amount of time, and after that we will decentralize it and slowly move it into a DAO. And I think in both cases it's very complicated to think of how you will create this governance, this whole token economy in this organization, like how to incentivize and decentivize people to do certain things.
Okay. So basically, it is you're a governor at her DAO because you believed in the system and in the DAO you created. One thing that I would like to ask is, I mean, I'm an engineer, so I can understand that there's a urge to get into technical spaces. But how
Yeah.
did you become a student of computer sciences in the first place? Like, what initially made you want to enter this space?
I think I always wanted to become a developer. I had this like goal of becoming like Mr. Robot before the series Mr. Robot was out, and then now I kind of like I I changed that because I was like I'm probably not Mr. Robot, so I will just do my work in Web3. So let's know how the way changed.
Yeah, I can assure everyone that you're not a robot and you're a very, very lively
No, it's
person.
like
And it's
it's
really nice to listen to
it's
you.
it's Mr. Robot. Have you seen the show? It's like he's like this hacker and he hacks into the system and then like everything goes down because he kind of like gives everybody their like it's a whole series about hacking and I wanted to become a
Okay,
badass
I'll
hacker
definitely put
and
it
go
on my watch list.
underground. Yeah.
I'll put it on my watch list. And then I'd say we're all happy and lucky that you entered the white hat space and not the black hat hacking space. Because what you just described seems a little bit like off the record, probably.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would have had to go
But
underground at one point. It
yeah,
was.
but that's
I'm
super
happy I don't have
super
to.
rare. But it's super rare that a girl actually wants to, like, says like, okay, I don't know, 17, 18, I want to become a programmer. I want to
I
become
think it was.
Mr. Robot. I want to.
It was. I think I always wanted to do and have the stuff that all the boys had, but also my dad was a programmer and my mom also learned some programming when she was studying. So I think it was just like never something where I thought I couldn't do it, and
Yeah,
I always just wanted. That's probably it. Just wanted to
that's
have
super inspiring that you
also
actually
that.
just went for it and then took it for yourself. And
It
I think it's
it had this
amazing that
curve
you.
of like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you just said, okay, I wanted always to have the things that the boys had, and if there's not a network like the boys have, I just created myself. That it sounds like basically that's your story.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did.
That's really cool. So also you talked about hackathons and I heard Denver. I know you're also traveling to Lisbon. So you're traveling a lot. Is this related to your work, or is this because you love traveling and you have the opportunity to do your Web3 job, or was it always like this?
So I only traveled that much in the last year for H.E.R, and it was also before because we were so small in the beginning, right? Like we were growing, we were learning it along the way, and in the beginning, I was going like I was the person responsible for scholars, so I had to go like every month to another conference and fly somewhere, and it was very exhausting. Like I like to travel, but I would also like to take a week off after every time. And it's also, um, so it was great, but I was also not very sustainable, which is why we started as soon as possible to create our own like local chapters that now take over this kind of work. We also believe like, of course, we want to bring people from here to there, but also we want to like we believe it's way easier to reach underrepresented community if you're like there and you can like talk to people from universities, from code camps, and then bring them into the hackathons. It's also like cheaper and better for the environment, and we will still have the same impact. And as soon as they have worked a bit, and I think it's just like this is also how we developed our concept from like flying people around the world to like bringing people that are close to this area into the area and just like and that's what we are moving towards right now.
But you're not only traveling; you also are attending like hackathons, and
Yeah,
not
exactly.
only for a networking perspective, but why would you say should people prioritize hackathons? What did it give to you besides networking opportunities?
So I think if you attend a hackathon, what we've seen and also what I experienced myself is you build something in like you have this very intense time from 24 to 48 hours where you brainstorm an idea, you design the whole product, then you have to small down the product so it's actually like an MVP that you will be able to build. You have to actually and then you just like hack for like 24 hours. Maybe you sleep 2-3 hours. But I think it's so amazing because you learn to use a completely new technology, or most of the time, like you use different products. Meet people that you work with very intensely. This can be very hard, but also a very great chance to maybe meet like very good friends, future co-founders, because it's such an intense time. You will definitely find out if you like somebody or not, and if you can work with somebody or not. And I think that's also a very, very great way for startups to find people that they would like they want to employ, for example, right? It's also great to test out your idea. If you have a great idea and you want to like see how it looks in the real world, get feedback to it, just go with it to a hackathon. And then also the change that I've seen in like our scholars, right? They go to this hackathon, it's their first hackathon, they're like super insecure, they don't know what's going on. And then suddenly they win a prize. And this prize is so much, it's like this recognition. It's like this like shoulder pat. It's like, you did a great job and we love your idea. And people go out and they want to do the next one and the next one, and they want to build. And suddenly we have people who didn't think of becoming a founder for like another 4, 5, 7 years, think about becoming a founder like that. And I think about how to create a pitch deck, like how to raise small grants, big grants, like, all of this. And it's like, it just like makes everything so much faster. And I think it's been beautiful, like to see what people can also achieve in that short time. And it was also amazing to see the development from like starting last year, where in East Denver, which was the first hackathon we attended with her DAO, and we had 2 or 3 winning team in the top 30s. Actually, I was one of them. We were the only female. And
Congratulations.
and then from like hackathon to hackathon, having like these all female teams, it was sometimes most of the time we were the only ones, and then there were all other organization like Blue DAO, and they had the first all female team that won an East Global hackathon. And from like now we have more and more of these, and they keep inspiring other people, and it's like we're creating role models. And it's just amazing to see that these ideas also are being valued, because people understand, okay, we can keep building our technology because we have to, like, there still needs to be a lot of stuff built, but to also be adapted to mainstream, we need ideas and concepts that come from the mainstream, that people will understand what this technology can actually be used for. And that's just like in general, that you can also build something that is very, 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 very useful for the community, and not just the next DeFi platform or lending platform.
That's a super interesting thought that you just brought up, to use hackathons basically as place to find new employees, because I think many Web3 companies are still using traditional hiring processes, like putting the position out online and waiting for people to apply. But this approach of, okay, when you're actually working with them, if you can work with them and if you want to, that sounds super reasonable, actually. But yeah,
I think for once, for a startup to go and to just test out working with different people, but also for yourself, if you're a developer, you're UI UX designer, anything, right? And you have a project that wins a prize from a certain company, you can talk to them. You can be like, hey, you like what I built? Like, you, first of all, you have the direct connection. You can get their contact. You can text with them on Telegram, be like, hey, I'm actually like looking for a job. If they like your project, they already saw what you can do, you know? Like, so you can skip a lot of these steps of an application process. And yeah, it's great because there's always, like, most of the time the sponsors are there to mentor you and everything. Especially at the bigger ones, you have like 3-4 people, and it's very, very cool.
That's great. I think you've learned a lot via these last hackathons, right? But
Yeah.
is there a topic that you don't know much about yet, but
I am very excited because, like, topics like zero knowledge proof, decentralized identity, these are all topics that I believe are also the ones that will be super important, as well as refi. And in the last year, I had the chance, I was so busy with H.E.R that in the end, I didn't have the chance to go super deep in all of these topics. So now I'm very excited, also in my next job, working for Toucan, a carbon offset protocol for no, a protocol for carbon offset marketplaces. And yeah, I think in general, refi is one of the greatest areas for blockchain use. So I'm very, very excited to learn everything there is to know, because I feel like I have a great overview, but I'm very excited to go deeper into that.
I love this spirit of always being open for learning new things. And I think maybe in the future we should have another episode talking about these new things you learned. But until
Yes, I
then,
would love to.
yeah, but until then, maybe let's wrap it up now with our last question. And this would be your Blocktale, like your favorite crypto story that you can tell us by finishing the sentence once upon a time.
I think once upon a time, my favorite crypto story is actually just me going to Denver last year, knowing people from like Zoom calls from my study group who sent me this link to sign up for the scholarship to go to East Denver. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. Hell yeah. And then I come and I meet amazing women, and we are all like babies in this space, and we are like 100 women, and they're like walking around and through Denver, and everybody's like, who are these women? And now I have this like crew of women, and we were all these babies 1 year ago, and now we all have like really cool jobs in Web3, and we, I don't know, we like, you can see them pop up everywhere, and it's just incredible to see what happened in the last year, of also percentages of women attending hackathons and conferences, and just like now having always this group of people around me. I think that's the most beautiful thing that happened to me, and that it feels sometimes like a fairy tale that I just said yes and was always active. I mean, I know I worked a lot for this, but in the end, it just sometimes feels incredible how this happened. So
Beautiful last
always
words
sign up for
about
everything and just try it out.
beautiful last words about the pace that Web3 is evolving with, and about the spirit of just trying and doing. I love this. Thanks for being my guest, Lena. Um, have a nice
Thank you so
day
much for having
and
me.
hopefully talk soon.
Yes, talk soon. Thank you so much.